Should be on there now.
Yeah, they can hear you. So you can go ahead and say hello almost. You gonna come back here and say hello?
That's what I was asking.
Okay, turn that down. So you can go ahead and say hello almost. You gonna come back here and say hello? That's what I was asking. Okay, turn that down. Okay, there you go. You need to bring that with you so we can say hello to everybody.
Thought we'd see him someplace. I'm not going to be back here forever.
We're having a little oopsie back here today. Hello, everyone. I think we need to swoop down.
I'm not. You are.
We're going to squat down. We got it too high. There you go. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Live with Sandra V. My name is Sandra.
And I'm Kenny V.
And
our goal is to promote, inspire, and educate like people in the industry, and hope that you get something out of that as well.
Yes, and tonight I think you can expect to be inspired as we continue on with episode 3 of designing panels. So before we continue or get going, let's say hello to everyone. So type in that you're here, and I see we have Kim. Hey, Kim.
I'm doing my job.
I'm doing his job. We just
micromanage.
Whoop, wait a minute. There you go. Swipe left. So Kim and Joe Ellen, good evening. If any of you are here for the first time, we welcome you, and please type in that you're new. Just go new, and then that way others will say hello to you, and then we get to acknowledge that you're new as well. And for all of our regular viewers, thank you for being here every week, and thank you for helping me design these panels. We've had a lot of fun on the last 2 episodes, and tonight is going to be really good. I'm excited about tonight. We've got a lot of math to do, so go ahead and get those pen and papers out. Right? You want to say hello to everybody?
Well,
go ahead.
Sharon. Jennifer.
Hey, Sharon.
Robin.
And Jennifer and Robin. It's so great to have all of you here tonight. Like I said, you know, I don't know where the week has gone. It's gone by so quickly. I can't even believe that it's Tuesday night already. And let me show you why everybody's coming in. I've had so much fun playing around with these panels, and I went ahead and added the banding to one of the panels, as well as that little flange. So what do you all think so far? I just couldn't help. I just had to jump ahead and go for it. Well, tonight I am going to pick up where we left off last week and start to review how to draft the pattern for these cutout pleats. But before I do, if you all wouldn't mind hitting that share button to let others know that we're here, because like I said, always it never fails that after we end the broadcast, there are others that pop in here and were saying hello to us, and sorry that they've missed it. So this way Facebook gives them a notification. Okay. Any other comments before we get started?
Jeannie is in here, and Robin says she loves it.
Oh, good. Thanks, Robin. I know as I was making these today, and I was laying out the little flange on the main print, even before I added the banding, I loved how these 2 fabrics were coming together. And part of me almost wished that I had not planned on doing the lead edge, the banding on the lead edge. And this would be so much fun to take this fabric, the little dot fabric, and go ahead and almost bring it around, almost like a Greek key type of a design. I was really surprised that it looked so good on there, just the 2 of them together. So, all right, I'm going to move this out of the way so we can get started. There's a lot to cover, and I hate to run out of time.
We got a new person, Annette Bierman.
Oh, hey, good. Welcome, Annette. It's great having you here. Like I said, this is episode 3. If you've missed the other 2, episode 1 is actually on the YouTube channel, Live with Sandra V, and I'm going to be putting episode 2 up there. I haven't had time to go in and do a little bit of editing before I do that, but that will go up. This one will too. It just makes it easier to find when you all want to go back and maybe review, or if you mentioned it to somebody else and they want to go back and review, it's easier to find than go through the Facebook feed, I think. So, okay, let's get this party started. And if you have questions, I'll stop every so often, but go ahead and type them in. Mr. Kenny V is going to be over there monitoring them. I think he always works, so he brought work to do too.
Abby Connell is here.
Hey, Abby.
She's from New Hampshire.
Hey, oh man, all you up north people, whoo-wee, it's cold for me here. So, and I know you all are having a colder snap than we are. I think you guys are in like in the 7-degree, whatever. But anyway, okay, I am going to get started, and I'm going to begin, like I said, going back to review where we ended last week. And where we ended was pattern drafting for the cutout goblet pleats for the panels that we're making. And I just want to say first off that whenever I begin pattern drafting, I really like to look at the project as a whole. And then I begin by breaking it down into like bite-sized pieces, because if you've ever pattern drafted, if you ever maybe a client has sent you a photograph and said, this is what I want. And if you look, at first, if you look at all of it, you can become overwhelmed at times, right? How many of you have done that out there? I know we've got a lot of pros out there, a lot of people who've been in the business for a while. But still, a lot of times if we get something new that we've never done before, or if it's a treatment with a lot of combination of different elements, it can be overwhelming. So my first tip is to break it down into bite-sized pieces and decide what you already have given to you. If you break it down, you know there's certain things that you already know that you can look at. And then there are other elements that you need to find out what you need to accomplish the goal. And what I mean by that is these panels, the head of these pleats for this panel, there are certain given factors that I have. And then there are things that I need to find out. Okay, so what I need to determine is I need to determine how large my pleats are going to be. I need to determine how wide my spaces are going to be. And I also want to determine what the swoop of my goblet is going to be. How much cutout am I going to have? Okay, so some of the things that I already know. Let me switch here. Let me see. Now we kind of looked at this last week. And it's not a wide enough angle, so I'm going to bring it in a little bit. I'm just going to fold this piece of fabric and kind of bring it in so you can see it.
You're zooming it in.
I don't.
No, I'm saying you're zooming that in.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of zooming that in here a little bit. Okay, so pretend like this is flat out, and I am using this green piece of fabric, and it's going to denote that this is my face of my panel. I could have used a face fabric, but it's very busy and there's a lot going on there. So I decided to use this green piece of fabric. Okay, so what I know that the width of my face fabric happens to be 56 inches. And that fabric, that printed fabric, the print goes out to each of the selvage edges completely. So I don't have to cut anything off. So I can use every bit of it. So like I said, I know that it is 56 inches wide. So we're going to pretend this is 56 if I bring it out. I know that I am making panels that are 1 width of material each. I know that on a 1 width of material for pleated panel, we have standard 5 pleats. I know that if I have 5 pleats, that I will have spaces because there's always one less space than there are pleats, right? I know that I'm making goblet pleats, and I want my goblet pleats to be robust. So I right now want to have at least 5.5 inches in each one of my pleats. If I can get more, we'll go for it. But I don't want any less than that. I know that my pleats are going to have a swoop. What the swoop is, we're going to determine that in a few moments. The other things that we need that I do know is I need I will have a 3-inch. I will have 3 inches for my side facing, and the side facing is just, if some of you don't know, this is what goes to the back of the panel, and there is a double 1.5 inch fold that goes behind, and we call it just a facing. I know that I want a 3.5 inch return, and on my lead edge, I know that I'm going to have a 3.5 inch banding, and I'm also going to have that little 1/2 inch little flange that I just showed you all. Okay, so those are the things that I know, and those are the things that I need to. And what I need to find out are, can I get my 5.5 inches in my pleat, and how much am I going to have in each one of my spaces? Okay, I'm following along with my notes here because I can get off track. Okay.
What?
Yeah, can you believe that? Okay, so now we need to determine how much can we have 5.5 inches in those pleats, and how much we're going to have in those spaces. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my paper, and if you want to take notes, go ahead. Because remember I said that we had 56 inches in my fabric. And I'm going to minus out the 4 inches for my lead edge. I'm going to minus out the 3.5 for my return. I'm going to minus out the 3 inches for my side facing. And then I am left with 45.5 inches from that inside of that return, from the into the inside of where that little flange is going to end. Okay. I said that I want 5 pleats, and I want them to be 5.5 inches. So if I take 5 times 5.5, I get 27.5 inches. Is everybody following me? Any questions?
Oh, they are all just being studious.
Okay.
They're not touched.
Okay. So I'm going to take the 45.5 inches that I said I had in here, and I'm going to put that number right at the top. Then I'm going to take the 27.5 inches that I need for my pleats. That's going to come out of here. And I'm going to put it up here, and I'm going to minus 45.5. I'm going to take 45.5 and minus out 27.5, and I am left with 18 inches. Now, where are those 18 inches going to go? You're right. No one's typed it in yet, but you're going to be typing it in. They're going to go in my spaces. So I'm going to take the 18, and I'm going to divide it by 4. And that is going to leave me with, that's going to give me 4.5 inches. So now I know that I can have the 5.5 inches in my pleats, and then I'll have 4 spaces. In my 4 spaces, each are going to be 4.5 inches each. Okay, so I have basically broke this down and determined what I know and what I need to know. Now I can go on and I can draft the pattern for these cutout pleats. Okay, so just
Abby mentioned spaces.
okay, good.
She's
Yep.
the only one to respond.
Okay.
Everybody else, I guess.
Everyone else pressed. We already know that. Okay.
I'm sure Abby did too, but she's,
Thank you, Abby. I appreciate it. Okay. So I am going to take and I'm going to now, I could draft on this green piece if I really want to, but I think I'm just going to leave it the way it is because it has all my notes on there. Now, obviously, there's just one question that I had that I did not answer yet, and that is going to be what the cutout is going to be. And I will tell you that I did play with this a couple weeks ago, and I did like a 2-inch swoop and then a 2.5-inch swoop, and I decided I'd like the deeper one. So I really already know that, but I had to play with it first. So if you're drafting something for the first time, you might have to make a couple of revisions to get exactly what you want. But I didn't think that I needed to do that here on the live. Okay. So we have this. Let me get all my pieces that I need. I need my rulers and my markers. And by the way, just because I'm using markers, make sure that you don't use it on your fabric. I think you guys already know that. So far I've not used any erasable markers for those of you who are watching for the first time, just in case that's the question. So this lining, a piece of lining that I have, I have cut it at the 56 inches. Okay, and let me go to this one here. Okay, so I have cut the width of it at 56 inches. Okay, I know that this panel is going to have cording along the top edge. And let me find my little piece here to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, now here's a little piece that I did, I think last week. I was playing with this just to get the look, make sure I had the look. Okay, so this is like a piece of the top of the panel, let's say. And I put the cording in along the top. And because it's going to have cording along the top edge, I only need a 1/2 inch seam allowance at the top of my panel. Now, I think most of you out there have made panels, have been making panels for a long time. If you haven't, then it's pretty standard for us to have maybe, if we're doing low bulk, we might have 3 to 4 inches on the top left over for our panels. Or some folks out there, they'll double roll their top hem, and usually it's like a double 4, so you need 8 inches for the top. But for these panels, because it's going to have a cording, I only need a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so to make sure I have that built into this pattern, let me put this down here. Let me go back to this view. That I've gone ahead and I have drawn a 1/2 inch seam allowance the entire length of my lining. I'm going to call it lining pattern. All right. Okay. Any questions? Any comments?
Abby said looks she loves it. So beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It's
when you had the other one.
Okay. Yeah, I think it. Yeah, this has really been a fun project, and like I said, I can't wait to see how they finish up. All right. Let me go back to here. So on my I'm going to begin plotting everything out. I've already started ahead of time just to keep things running quicker so we can get a lot accomplished. And like I said, I've marked my 1/2 inch seam allowance all along this 56 inches. And then I came to the left-hand side. And remember, I said that we had a 3-inch return. I love my little caddy up here. I keep things in it, makes my tabletop or my top of my table look neat. Okay, so this is my 3-inch facing.
That's it. Oh,
okay. Yeah. This is my 3.5 return. All right, because we want that to stay flat. And then I'm going to begin plotting for the pleats and the spaces. Of course, well then, let me just say too, I've gone ahead and marked here the 3.5 inch for the banding and then the 1/2 inch for the little baby flange. I love that little baby flange. And I've already done some planning here earlier. So the green line is going to be the separation. So what I did is I just did my 5.5, and then I knew that I had 4.5, so it was 10, and then I just move along the line again, and I do 5.5 and 10, and I do this all along this top edge, 5.5 and 10. Okay, and as you can see, I have put little dots here just so, again, I can make it go a little bit quicker. I've gone along the bottom edge and I've done the same thing just in case I wanted to draw the lines all the way down. But in this case, I don't have to. But if you're pattern drafting, something you may want to add the markings, both top and bottom, entirely up to you. And once I have plotted it along the top edge, I have begun by drawing my lines down. Like I said, I only need this to go about 7 inches. So I have my pleat, space, my pleat starts again, my pleat, my space, and I'm going to go ahead and finish it. Any questions?
Nope.
How many of you have made these cutout goblet pleats before? Anybody? Has anybody made them before?
Yeah, I get them, man.
Okay. I know there's a little bit of a delay.
Way up north, it takes a long time.
Takes a long time. You know, I've been thinking that I need to call you all something. I need to have a name for all of you all, and I think that since we're all makers, you know, maker seems to be a big word that a lot of people are using nowadays. Is it a trending word? I don't know, but we're all makers, and we're creative. So I thought that I might just start calling you guys my creative, my creative maker friends. Does that sound okay? Most of us do drapery. We do upholstery. We've got Kim out there, who is, I think she's a leader of the pack. You know, we do crafts. And I do a little bit of all of that here, depending on the season and what's going on. And I always try to incorporate what we have into our workroom, into whatever craft or, you know, whatever we're making. So I don't know. Does that sound like a good name? That you're my creative maker friends? Because we do. I don't want to say just drapery. I don't want to just say soft furnishings or crafts. So just a thought.
You're getting some thumbs up and some hearts.
Good. Thank you. I like that. Thank you. My creative maker friends.
Annette, she says she's never made the panels or the goblets, like your question. Okay. And Abby also said no, never. And Robin says she has. And Kim, the pink ruler lady, she has not.
Robin, if you've drafted them, I'd like to find out how you drafted them too. Did you draft them yourself? And if you did, do you remember how much you cut out? Again, sometimes you just have to start somewhere to have a jumping off point and start to draft and see how you like it. And I don't know, I mean, you might have done it differently. And one thing I have learned in this industry, there's more than one way to skin a cat. I know if I get together with some of my drapery friends.
What's skinning cats got to do with making draperies?
Well, there's more than one way to skin a cat. More than one way to make a drapery. And a lot of times if we're together working on projects or helping one another, it just blows my mind because we can see how somebody else does a certain a panel or a technique or treatment, and it's really kind of cool. You can learn a lot. So okay, let me continue because I'll get going here and we'll lose time. But just Mr. Kenny V, just shout out.
Abby says, yeah, it's a very funny name.
Good.
And Kim says, creative maker friend sounds perfect.
Good. It's like so many times people like, hey, my you know, whatever creative maker friends or something. And I just thought that I felt like I needed to greet you all in a certain way. So that's what I was thinking.
You don't want to hear all the other versions or terms she was throwing out there.
Oh, well, that's not true. You just heard about it tonight. We'll give you a name.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you got plenty of them.
That's right. Okay, so this is so let me pull this over so we can see here. This is a pleat. This is a space, and you can mark it because remember, you can mark anything with this. Pleat, space, pleat, space, pleat, space, and then here's our pleat. Okay, and it works out. I know it works out because I plotted it. Okay. All right, now what we need to do is we need to find the center of each of the pleats. And I know that the center happens to be what? You all tell me. I already know what it is, but if this is 5.5, what's my center? It's going to be 2.75. So I'm going to mark my center. And I'm going to, actually, I'm going to back up here real quick because I think it's going to make, I am going to make a mark. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to make it in just a few moments. I'm going to come down 3 inches from the top on my pleats, from the very, very top of the fabric. And I'm going to tell you why in just a few moments. But what did Robin say?
Better than fabricators.
Huh?
Robin? She said, yeah, she self-drafted, lots of trial and error, and turned out to be very similar to what you ended up.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. You are something else, Robin. You do gorgeous, gorgeous work. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to find my little center here. And I wanted to find my center on this 3-inch mark. So 2.75. 2.75. Like I said, you know, drafting is not as hard as you might think. And a lot of times people do. They get overwhelmed whenever they see something. And if you just break it down bit by bit, and then it'll come to you.
How do you eat an elephant? Or a frog?
Well,
one bite at a time.
Oh, that's true. It might take me a long time to eat that elephant. Okay. All right. So now that I have my center, that will be the center. I can go on and determine how I'm going to draft for the goblet. Now, I decided that I wanted my goblet to drop down 2.5 inches. Let me find my piece here. I tossed it on the floor. Better put the top on this because I really don't want this all over my table. Isn't that dot cute? There's the back of it. That I wanted my goblet to drop 2.5 inches down from this top. Okay. Now, knowing that, you just can't go in here and just cut 2.5 inches. All right. So I have marked. Let me go to this here. This is going to explain it better. Right. So you can see here at this very top edge, that's my 1/2 inch seam allowance at the very, very top. And I have to have a stitching line. So this 3-inch line here, which is here, will be the stitch line. But I need my seam allowance. So if I need my seam allowance, I need to come up 1/2 inch from there. Okay. This is the top of my fabric. This 1/2 inch line happens to be, and let me get another color because the same color is not going to do it. Okay. This is going to be my stitch line here. All right. So this this is where I plot it, right here and right here. These are my plotting lines. So I am going to bring up 1/2 of an inch for my seam allowance. Okay, so that's what I've done here. I've come up 1/2 of an inch and made my seam allowance. So if I come up right here, I'm going to actually draw this line, and that is going to be my cut line. Now this is the width that my pleat is going to be, but whenever I go to cut my curve, I have to have a seam allowance on each side. So I'm going to come in 1/2 of an inch. I'm just going to draw it from the top. Come down here, 1/2 of an inch. Now this marker might make it a little bit fatter, but I'm going to, if you're doing it, you might want to do a smaller, like a pen or something. Okay. So what I have now is I have my seam allowance along the top edge. I have my seam allowance on the inside edge, and I have my seam allowance along the bottom edge. Does that make sense?
Seems like a lot of lines.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of lines. Okay. And then there's my center mark. Seams. Oh, you're funny. Okay, so there you go. And there's my center mark. Does that make sense? Because this will be seam allowance. This is stitching line. Coming across here is going to be a stitching line. And then when we put the pleats together, this will be the stitching line here. Okay. Now, so really when it comes down to it, from the stitching line down to where it's going to be stitched down here is the 2.5 inches, which is going to be the finished length. Does that make sense, everyone?
When you say finish length, that's the scoop in your
that's right.
And the goblet pleat.
Correct. That's the scoop. Okay. We just can't go in there and just cut it. We can't say, okay, that's my cut. Let me just start to cut this out. I want it to swoop down here. Because if you brought it down to, if you brought your cut line down, if you brought your line down to here, then when you go to sew it, it would drop down even further. Does that make sense?
Seems to make sense.
Okay, cool.
I'm not sure which part.
Okay.
Light.
Now it comes time that we need to make a curve. And there's so many ways that you can make a curve, and it really depends on what you have available. Sometimes if I have like a bowl and I need a curve, if I dump this, all my pins might come out. Some of them anyway. It just depends. But I'm going to tell you, this beaded weight chain, if you have any beaded weight chain, this helps you make the best curves ever. That, along with if you have a ruler, if you've ever taken a ruler, and if you can just kind of bend it, sometimes you have to put it against your body or put some pins down or something to get the curve between a long ruler, whether it's a soft wooden one or a metal one. Best curves ever. Okay, beaded weight chain. Can't live without it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, there's my center. I only need to get half of it. So I'm going to line it up on what? The cut line, the seam allowance. Just like you're making a garment. If, you know, we couldn't cut, if this was the finish, we couldn't cut here. We'd have to back it in and get a seam allowance. And that's what we have. We've got this pleat and we've backed it in to get our seam allowance. Okay, and we've backed it up to get the seam allowance. Okay, that made better sense, I think, when I said that. So I'm just going to use this and get a curve. And I'm going to start there and I'm going to come down to the center. If you want to, you can bring it up, but it's very difficult to get the same curve on the opposite side. But if you need to see what it looks like, and sometimes maybe you need a little bit more belly. I don't need any more belly, but if you want to just bring it out. And you can just play with it. Use your finger just to soften it out and get the right curve that you want. Who else uses beaded weight chain? Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. So I'm just going to take my marker and I'm just going to draw to the inside.
That says it makes sense, and also Abby.
Okay, I don't want to.
And then Kim is asking, where's Kenny V smile face and funny humor? She can't hear me. She doesn't need she doesn't need to see my smiley face.
Do we need him to pop in real quick? He said.
It's not real smiley. I'm tired.
He's tired. He's. I guess he's not going to pop in.
This morning before the sun came up.
Yeah, he had a long day, so he's okay. I'm going to go ahead and mark that center all the way, so that I can just do this number. Okay, don't really have to, but whoop. These markers probably aren't the best, but I think they help you all see it better. Okay, I'm just going to turn this around. So I can cut it easier. Anybody else come in that we haven't said hello to yet? Okay.
No. Jennifer mentioned when we were talking about eating elephants and frogs and stuff, she says it's also a perfect way to eat an entire cake.
A entire cake.
Well,
thanks, Jen.
One bite at a time.
One bite at a time. Yes, bite at a time.
And Jennifer also, before that, made sense. Makes you talk about your funny name.
Oh yeah, yeah, good,
people.
Good.
She says it's maker's better than fabricated.
Yes, yes. And if I missed saying hello to anybody, I will go back later and do that. Okay, so now you can see I've taken and I've cut 1/2, and that's why we've tagged the center of a pleat, because it makes it easier for us to fold it back. It makes it easier for us to know where to belly this out. So then I'm just going to take and cut this. Pardon my fingers, but what are y'all working on this week? I think we were back full swing from the holidays. Is that right? Okay.
Shoveling snow for some people.
That's right. So there we go. There is our first cutout, and I kind of did it in the center of here. So now we can go back, and you have a choice of what you want to do here. We have this piece that's got all the markings on it, and we can just line it up. It makes it easier. Well, actually, you know what I didn't do yet? Let's go back and do this. I didn't go in and mark my 1/2 inch on all of them. I am going to do that because this is going to be my pattern. Okay, you want to come around and say hello to everybody?
I'm good.
Okay, Ken said he's good. So.
You want the blue one or?
No, I'm good. I can do this. I can do this real quick. Quick. After we make sure I'm on the pleat. That's why I like to mark whether it's a pleat or a space too, because you can get really confused on some of these things. Now there's another way that you can do this. Once I've made the cut, I can take it and flip it over on top of the other pleat, or the other space, or the other area for the pleat, I should say. What's everyone saying? I can hear the popping.
Let's see. There's a Kim says she can hear. Abby says, "Wow, amazing." I'm not sure what part you were doing then. Certainly wasn't anything I said.
Okay.
And there's Tracy Ryder's watching now. She just came in. She wasn't here earlier.
Okay.
And Annette said something about pleated panels.
Cool.
I'm not sure what that refers to.
Pleated panels? Oh, you're working on pleated panels. Oh,
yeah. That's what she's working on. Okay.
Cool.
And then, excuse me, Abby says there's lots of snow in New Hampshire. Ooh. And Kim says she's shoveling snow and has jury duty on Thursday.
Are you serious? Oh, okay. Well, that's our civic duty, right? I shouldn't say it that way. Yeah.
And Sharon is working on tab cafe curtains with scalloped bottoms or scallops between the tabs.
Cool, cool.
About half a circle cut out, similar to yours.
Cool.
And we got Lori from New Hampshire, from Nashville.
Hey, Lori. What's Lori's last name?
Passmore.
Hey, Lori.
And Robin says she's working on cornice boards and panels this week.
I love me some cornice boards. If you all, and if I could just give a shameless plug too, I keep forgetting that if you all have never made cornice boards and you like to start, I do have a video out there on how to make cornice boards, and it happens to be on kimsupholstery.com. So if anybody's interested, you can go out there and check that out.
We got Kathy Bryant from Alabama just showed up.
Hey, Kathy from Alabama. Kathy, what part of Alabama are you from?
Anniston.
Anniston. I used to live in Montgomery, and I lived in Huntsville. Love Alabama. I loved Huntsville.
Jennifer's working on shears this week and several quotes and renderings.
I have had a week full of quotes, and I just finished up 2 pair of 5 width each shears, which were beautiful. And yeah, some really big jobs, and there's some more coming in. Who's going to the IWCE? Because I want to see you all there. Anybody?
Well, Lori might, since she's right there.
That's right, Lori might.
She responded saying that she is.
Yeah, that might be cool. And I'm going to be in the construction zone talking about 6 different Roman shade head rail systems. We're covering the safety shade. We're going to do motorization. We're going to be covering pro design, do fix, easy spring. What else am I doing? I can't remember. The little wand motorized. But that's more battery operated. I don't think it's really. Is that considered motorized? I mean, it's motorized, but it's battery operated motorized. Yeah.
That's how this power supply is best.
Power supply. Yeah. So we'll be covering all of those and teaching people how to make those. Remember we made the little pom-poms in here last year? We're doing the little pom-poms too. So.
Pam Kenning's from Boston is in, and Joellen will see you in Nashville.
Yay, Joellen!
And Lori looks forward to the construction zone.
Yes, we are going to be going out to Texas to help out with the artisan project. Don't have an entry this year. I did last year. Oh, by the way, we were talking about Roman cornice boards. And do you all remember the glasses that I made? The big sunglasses cornice board they made for the shade. Did you all see that? Well, I'm actually going to add some coral into this room, and that is the Pantone color of the year, I think. And so I'm going to be reproducing those glasses here on the live show, but I want to make a smaller version of those, and it's like a cornice board. So you all will be able to see how it was done. And I might even get the pattern out there for you all too. So, okay, I'm rambling on. Here we go.
17 minutes left.
Okay, well, this was the main part for tonight that I did want to talk to you about. Then we're going to talk about cuts. So here's my pattern. It is all ready. And now that I have the pattern ready, I can begin by doing all the cuts for the panel. All right. So let me just show you guys. There you go. I've got it all cut out. Okay. Now, I think that was easy. I don't know about you all, but I hope that you learned something. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to begin by talking about the different cuts. Let me get everything out of my way. Love that little carriage too. Okay. And here are the face cuts. Let me take this down without. Now the face cut, remember, is the finished length of these panels are going to be 80 inches. I don't need them to be very long. And a few weeks ago, we talked about the repeat and cutting by repeat. So I've made 2 cuts, and I do have a larger table in the other room to spread out on. And so I don't know about all of you, but whenever I make my cuts, I cut them and I keep them layered. And before I take them off of the table, I go ahead and I press in my hem. Now let me go back to this. And on a panel, the standard hem is a double 4-inch, right? I love these little Dritz Easy Hem guides, and there is a larger one. It's I think it's about, I don't know. I'll bring it in here one night, but it's big and tall. And what I do is I just stick it into the bottom like this, and let me turn it over. How many of you use this? I just love it. I can put in a hem so fast, and I use it for my sides too. And I just grab it with these 2 fingers, and I got ink all over me, and I poke down. So I am pushing down like this. Actually, I told you wrong. I push down with the top, and I grab the hem, the fabric, and I line it up with the 4-inch mark. I iron, and then I can just take it, and I move it over, and I pull, I push down, and then I pull up. I push down with my middle finger, and I pull up with my pointer and my thumb, and I pull up and I press. I shift it, I pull up, push down, and press. And I put in my 4 inches.
Is that the same technique you used when you had some competitions going on?
Yes.
With somebody coming to town to throw a challenge on you?
Exactly. And then I go ahead and push up my my 4-inch here and press. Now, if this is if this fabric repeats across, most of you already know this, but if this fabric repeats across, I make sure that as it repeats across, that if I come to this little like leaf here, and it ends with this little point, if it happens to repeat over here, I make sure that I have that same repeat. When I do my second layer, I make sure that both of the bottom of each panel matches the other. Does that make sense? Hopefully, if it's printed, the fabric has a printed pattern, that it's even, it's printed even, so that your tops will be the same also. Now, how many of you do it the opposite way? How many of you do like top down? Normally, I always do bottom up, unless I am doing something with a buffalo check, or there's a bunch of other reasons, but I can't think of them right now. But sometimes I will do top down. Okay. Now, to hem these, you can go ahead and run it in your blind hammer. If you have one, this fabric went nicely through my blind hammer. Or you can do you can hand stitch them. Now, for this particular panel, do not hem it yet. Just go ahead and press it in, because we've got to put the lead edge in first. Okay. Now, real quick, I want to show you, if you don't have a hemmer, and you certainly don't want to top stitch if it's going to be custom, I'm going to quickly go through just maybe a couple stitches of hand stitching, okay? So bear with me. So I am going to use a John James darner. I have number 7. Let me see if I can get this up here. There you go. John James darners. I use 7s and I use 5s. I love them both. One's just a little bit longer than the other. And I just really love, let's see if you can get, here. They're really long needles. And I love to smock with them too. Okay, so I'm going to get kind of close here. And I am using the Stellamine thread from Rolly Company. I love it because it's nice, it's durable, and it's it has a like a wax coating, and it just slides. Okay, I'm just going to come in here a little bit. I'm using 2 strands. You can certainly use 1 if you want to. And I'm going to just come to the back of my hem, and I'm going to come right up in that crease. And I'm coming in just a little bit, but normally I would start on the edge. I'm going to come up into the crease of my hem and pull it out. And that kind of hides my knot down into the hem. Then I'm going to go to the face, and I'm just going to pick up just a little smidge. That's the word I use in here a lot, smidge and budgie. If you've taken one of my classes, you know. All right, so I'm going to pick that up. Okay, and then I'm going to come back to the face, right in the same, close to the same spot, and I'm going to run my needle up in that fold. I have to tell you, it's hard from doing it from a little bit of a distance here. Okay, and you probably like a good 1/2 inch, and you poke it through, and then you go to the face fabric again. Pick up a little smidge, just enough.
These are 5 width panels. I'll see you next week.
Yes, I just got through with 10 widths of panels hand stitching. Sorry. Whew. I can see close up, but I can't see far away. There we go. All right, I'm just pick up a little bit here. Then I'm gonna come back into the fold, that hem. I'm gonna come out and pick up the face, and I'm going to continue that. And what you'll have this little blind hem stitch. And yes, as Ken just alluded to, of course it's white on white, so you can't really tell, but it's a nice little hidden. It is a nice little hidden stitch. Like I said, if you have a fabric that will not go through a blind hemmer, or you don't have a blind hemmer, and some of you may have Dufix, and that you go ahead and do that little adhesive strip. I don't have Dufix. Okay, so there's the face fabric. I don't know what that stitch that I just did is called. My high school teacher taught it to me, and she was bound and determined that I was going to learn it, and I did, and I use it to this day. So I don't know the name. She just said, you're just going to do it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So then the lining you are going to cut. And I have started to use a double 3-inch hem in my lining. And the reason why I do that is here. And the reason why I do that because it allows my lining hem to line up with the top of my face hem. And of course it comes up that 1 inch. So I take my lining, and the same thing, I'm going to fold it. I'm going to do a double 3-inch hem here. And you can either blind stitch your hem, or you can top stitch. What do you all do? I top stitch mine, and I top stitch it. It's like almost like a 1/16 of an inch away from that edge. What about you all? What do you do?
All right, well, let's answer the last question.
Okay.
Okay.
No, Mr. Kenny V is not paying attention.
Well, I'm paying attention. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay, I'll stop.
And you only got a few minutes.
Yep, I know. I'm watching the clock.
So Annette, she says she goes bottom up. Kim says she works from the bottom up to it. She plans from the top down. Okay. For most prints. Ruth just came in not long ago, and Sandy Scott, and as well as Kathy Tucker. Hey, Kathy, and who else did you say? Ruth Yeah, and Ruth says she always uses 3-inch hems.
3-inch hems? Do you use 3-inch hems? But you use 4-inch hems in your face, and then 3-inch, right?
Blind hem, she says.
Blind hem, okay. And so what does everybody do? Do they blind hem? What do you do for your lining? Do you blind hem your lining or your top stitch your lining?
There's a lot of blind hems. I'm not sure who's
Blind
saying.
hem? Okay. You can do both. I think both is acceptable. How many of you do fix your hems?
I mean, you just put glue in.
Glue it. Glue it. I use glue for a lot of things, but I can't bring myself to glue my hems. This is special. Okay. Interlining. Now interlining, you just cut it and serge it. You can, if you don't have a serger, you can go ahead and do I think if you do a double 2.5-inch hem, if you allow for a 2.5-inch hem, you can go ahead and blind hem it or top stitch it if you don't have a serger, and then it will line up nicely at the bottom. Okay. I serge mine. What does everybody do?
There's all the answers there.
Okay, Tim.
Excuse me. Chrissy Jones, Robin, top stitch uses 3-inch hems on lining.
Good, yeah.
Christy Jones, top stitch.
Stitch, okay.
Cheryl is top stitch.
Uh-huh.
Linda is she's late, and she does 3-inch doubles.
Oh, 3-inch doubles, okay.
And Ann does blind hem. Sylvia May says hi.
Hey, Sylvia, I'm glad you made it in tonight. I think it's your first time.
Sharon, I worked from top down and a blind hem the lining.
Okay, all right.
And then now Ruth is saying 4-inch ends in face.
Okay, good. Okay, just to make sure. I thought so. Okay, real quick, I want to cover this.
I got Ruth, 2
more. Oh, sorry.
Joelle, she does fix and works from the bottom up as 3-inch lining.
Cool.
And, just go ahead, because there's a bunch.
Okay.
You might catch them later.
Okay, I'll catch you all later. Okay, so because I wanted just to show some of you who maybe do things a little bit differently. One of the things that I've learned recently, I always used to do a double 2-inch hem. That's what I learned. And then one day someone said, Sandra, do double 3, because this way you can take and, like I said, here's the ridge. Go this way. Here's the ridge of my lining, you know, the crease of my lining. And if I flip it back, it matches the top of my hem on my face. And so it makes it so much easier, because when you line it up, your interlining, I bring my interlining up 1.5 inches from the bottom. If you do a double 2-inch if you decide that you don't have a surgery and you want to put a hem in here on your interlining, do a double 2.5. And then bringing that up 1.5 inches, the ridge will sit right here as well. And so here's my 3-inch. And if I go like line it up, and that comes 1 inch up from the bottom, and I'm just going to stick a pin in it, then it just makes it so much easier. And I think it makes it faster for us too, right? Wouldn't you all agree? Just go zip, zip. Okay, so we probably are pretty much out of time. I might have one more cut that we can do.
You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, okay. You guys, thank you so much for being here. If I've missed anybody's comments, I will go back and look later. And what we will do next week, because I want to end on time, what we will do next week is we will begin by putting the little flange and the lead edge. Should have left this up here. We will begin by putting the little flange. I'm going to show you how to put the little flange on there. The glue comes out for this, and the banding, because it gets a little bit tricky along the bottom, and it gets a little bit tricky along the top edge as well. So, and remember one thing, if you're making these panels, One thing I didn't mention, make sure you mark your bottom of your face. I always mark the bottom of my face with tape. When I cut my face in my fabric, I learned to mark the bottom right-hand corner. I know a lot of you use what? Some of you will use safety pins, some of you use pins, some of you use staples, and you will mark the top edge. Whatever works for you. This is how I learned, and it's kind of stuck with me. So we cannot forget that, especially on these, that we need a right-hand side and a left-hand side. And I like to mark the bottom so that I can grab, before I grab the fabric, I know exactly what the bottom is, especially, you know, a print like this. I really had to look at it to make sure I knew what I wanted my top to be and what I wanted my bottom to be. So those are just some little tips. That's the way I do it. And I look forward to seeing you all again here next week. And be thinking about how you would put this together, because I want your input too, because that's how we all learn. So real quick.
There's a bunch. I think we left off right about where I was at there.
And hello, everyone. Lori and Jennifer and Cheryl. And hey, Linda made it in. Joellen. Let's see, Christy Jones. It's popping here. And Chris Walls. How you doing, Chris O'Brien? Okay. I hope I got everybody. If I didn't, like I said, I will. Okay. We're going to end on time tonight. So thank you all for being here. We will see you next week for episode 4. And I think we will be really close to finishing this up. Okay, everyone. Good night, and we'll see you soon.